Don't post any pictures of us. I want my ex to think I'm single, she said before a night out. I didn't argue. Just packed my things and left. She came home at 2 a.m. to an empty closet. My note: now you don't have to pretend. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The smell of her perfume hit me first. Not the soft, familiar vanilla she wore most days, but something sharp and expensive, a sample vial she'd been saving. I looked up from my book. Qley was framed in the bedroom doorway, backlit by the bathroom light, in a dress I'd never seen. It was black, short, and held on by what looked like hope and two thin straps. The girl's night-out dress, she'd called it when the package arrived. But the preparation tonight had the focused intensity of a military campaign. For the past 2 hours, it had been the hiss of the straightener, the clatter of makeup jars, the soft thump-thump of a brush against her cheek. "Do you have any cash?" she asked, not looking at me, twisting to examine her reflection in the hallway mirror. "I don't want to bring my whole purse." "Wallet's on the counter," I said, my voice neutral. I'd learned that tone. Any hint of curiosity could be read as control. Any offer to help could be seen as doubt. She floated past, a whirl of perfume and rustling fabric, scooping up a few bills. "Thanks. I'll probably be late. Sarah wants to make a proper night of it." Sarah. The name was like a cue. Sarah was the fun one, the single one, the one who'd recently started hanging out with Mark's crowd. Mark, Qley's ex from college. The one who'd never really committed, the almost guy who'd drifted in and out of her life like a catchy but toxic song. His name had started appearing in her anecdotes again over the last month, always with an eye roll, a sigh. Can you believe he? I could believe it. Mark was a fact of nature, like a recurring storm. She was almost at the door, checking her phone, a small, anticipatory smile on her glossed lips. Then she paused. She turned. The smile shifted into something more performative, a look of casual concern. "Hey," she said, walking back towards me. She perched on the arm of my chair, the scent of her perfume now overwhelming. She put a hand on my shoulder. It felt like a prop. "So tonight," she began, her voice dipping into a confiding tone. "If your friends see any stories or whatever from the club, don't post any pictures of us. Okay?" The sentence hung in the air. It was so specific, so bizarrely forward, that my brain took a second to parse it. "Pictures of us." I echoed. "We're not together. I'm here reading." "You know what I mean," she said, a flicker of irritation in her eyes. "Like, if you took a picture earlier, or if someone tags you in something old. Just don't." "What?" The word came out flat. She sighed, the long-suffering sigh I'd come to know well. It was the preamble to her explaining the complicated, emotional logic of the world to my simple, linear mind. "Mark is going to be there. Sarah said he's been asking about me. I want him to think I'm single. It's simpler." The room felt very still. The hum of the refrigerator seemed to grow louder. "It's simpler." A memory flashed, unwanted and brutal. 8 months ago, in this same living room, her head in my lap as she cried. Her father had been hospitalized, and the stress had unraveled her. I'd canceled a weekend fishing trip with my brother, a trip we'd planned for 6 months, to stay with her. I'd made soup, answered the frantic calls from her mother, held her while she shook. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she'd whispered, her voice raw. "You're my rock." Now, I was a boulder in the stream of her narrative, one she needed to temporarily hide. "It doesn't mean anything," she continued, mistaking my silence for hurt. Her hand patted my shoulder. "It's just for tonight. It's just to see his reaction. It's a dumb ego thing. You understand, right?" The justifications fell like practice lines. "Just for tonight. Just to see. It doesn't mean anything." But it meant everything. In that one request, she had drawn a map of our relationship. I was the interior, the private comfort, the steady background noise. Mark was the exciting outside world, the audience she wanted to perform for. And for the performance to be convincing, the background noise had to be silenced. I had to be erased. "It feels a little weird, Qley," I said, not moving. "Asking me to pretend I don't exist." Her face hardened. The concerned mask slipped. "See, this is what I mean. You're making it a thing. You're being insecure. It's not a big deal. God, can't you just let me have one night without your drama?" My drama. The perfect inversion. Her request to hide me became my fault for noticing. Her desire to present herself as available to another man became my failure of confidence. I looked at her, really looked. At the perfect dress, the meticulous makeup, the eyes already shining with the reflected glamour of the night ahead, of Mark's attention. She wasn't asking for permission for a minor deception. She was telling me my place. I was the man you came home to, not the man you were proud to be with. I was the security, not the passion. I was to be kept in a drawer for safekeeping while she played with a newer, shinier toy. And in that clear, cold moment of understanding, a strange peace settled over me. The confusion, the slow-burning anxiety of the past few weeks, it all evaporated. The path forward wasn't a tangled knot of conversations and couples therapy and trying to prove my worth. It was simple. It was a single, straight line. She saw the change in my expression. She mistook the dying of the light in my eyes for surrender. She leaned in and gave me a quick, dry peck on the lips. It'll be fine. I'll be home by 2. Love you. She stood up, smoothed her dress, and grabbed her tiny clutch. She didn't wait for a response. The door clicked shut behind her with finality. The apartment was silent, heavy with the ghost of her perfume and the weight of her words. I sat there for a full 5 minutes, listening to the empty hum of the building. Then I closed my book, set it neatly on the side table, and stood up. Okay, I said quietly to the empty room. It was the last word I would ever speak in that apartment as her boyfriend. The first thing I did was take out the trash. It was Tuesday. Trash day was Wednesday, and the bin was full. It felt like the most mundane, logical place to start. I tied the bag, carried it out to the dumpster in the complex's parking lot, and slid the empty bin back to its spot by the door. The night air was cool, a clean contrast to the perfumed stagnation inside. I took a deep breath. No turning back now. Back inside, I didn't rage clean or storm through rooms. I moved with a quiet, surgical focus. I went to the hall closet and pulled out my 2 large suitcases and a set of moving boxes I'd never bothered to throw away after moving in with her 18 months ago. Foresight, I thought vaguely. The bedroom was the heart of it. Our bedroom. I started with the closet, a shared space that had become a slow annexation of her domain. My side was neat, sparse, a row of button-downs, some polos, jeans, a couple of suits and garment bags. Her side was an explosion of color and texture. I took only the garment bags and the few personal shirts I cared about. I left the hangers. The dresser was next. Socks, underwear, t-shirts. I didn't rifle. I opened my drawers and slid the contents directly into a suitcase. From the top, I took the small, wooden box my grandfather had given me. Inside was his old watch, a few foreign coins, and a single photograph of my parents on their wedding day. I left behind a framed picture of Qley and me at the beach. The glass was dusty. The bathroom was easier. My razor, my toothbrush, the unscented deodorant she always mocked. A half-empty bottle of cologne. I left the matching towels we'd gotten as a housewarming gift. I left the bath mat. I left the expensive shampoo she bought me that I never liked. In the living room, I was a curator of my own life. I took the books that were mine, carefully sliding them from the shelves and placing them in a box. I left the bestsellers she'd bought and never read. From the entertainment center, I took only my PlayStation and the controllers, coiling the wires with practiced efficiency. I left the TV we'd gone halves on. It was just a screen. The movies, the streaming accounts, all ghosts of a shared life I no longer inhabited. The kitchen was the hardest, not emotionally, but logistically. It was a landscape of entangled assets. I opened cabinets. The good chef's knife was mine, a birthday gift from my brother. I slid it into its protective sleeve and into a box. The cast iron skillet my mom gave me? Mine. I wrapped it in a dish towel and packed it. I left the nonstick set we'd bought together. I left the plates, the glasses, the toaster. From the fridge, I took my half-used jar of pickles, the good mustard, and the 6-pack of craft beer I'd bought. I left the bottle of white wine she liked, the yogurt that was hers, the leftover Thai food from 2 nights ago. It was while standing in the kitchen that I saw it. The coffee mug. It was a stupid, chipped thing, blue with a faded logo of a lake on it. It was from the first trip we'd ever taken together, a weekend cabin rental. It was my favorite mug. She hated it. It's ugly, she'd say. It doesn't match anything. For a year and a half, I defended its right to exist in our cupboard. I picked it up. The ceramic was cool. I remembered the mist on the lake that morning, the quiet, the feeling that I was building a life with someone. I turned it over in my hand. Then I walked to the trash can under the sink, the new, empty liner I'd just placed there, and dropped it in. It landed with a soft, final thud. I didn't need totems from a country I was deporting myself from. The physical act was complete in under 2 hours. The suitcases were by the door, the boxes stacked neatly beside them. The apartment was not ransacked. It was simply edited. My presence had been neatly, cleanly excised. The spaces I left behind looked not ransacked, but expectant, like sockets waiting for plugs that would never come. Then, the note. I found a plain piece of printer paper and a pen. I didn't sit. I leaned against the now barren kitchen counter. The words came immediately. There was no need to craft them. They were the simple, mathematical sum of her equation. Now you don't have to pretend. I didn't sign it. My name would be a relic here. I placed it squarely in the center of the kitchen island, where she'd see it the moment she walked in. I weighed it down with the TV remote, a final, fitting symbol of the passive entertainment our relationship had become. The loading of the car was a rhythmic, physical relief. Back and forth from the second-floor apartment to my SUV in the parking lot. The suitcases, the boxes, the guitar from the corner of the living room. The neighbor, Mrs. Gable, peeked out her door as I made my third trip. "Going on a trip, dear?" she asked, her voice kind. "Something like that, Mrs. Gable," I said, offering a small, genuine smile. "Have a good night." The last box fit snugly in the trunk. I closed it. I stood for a moment, looking up at the apartment window. The light was on in the living room, a warm, inviting glow that now felt like a diorama of a past life. I felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, no triumphant vengeance. Just a vast, empty calm. I got in the car, started the engine, and pulled out of the parking spot. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. At the first red light, I opened the settings on my phone. I turned off location sharing for Qley. Then I turned the phone to silent and tossed it into the passenger seat footwell. I drove to the hotel I'd booked on the way over, a clean, anonymous chain near the highway. The night clerk didn't look up from his computer as I checked in. The room was beige and quiet. I hauled my essentials inside, left the rest in the car. I took a long, hot shower, washing the last of the perfumed air and the dust of departure from my skin. I ordered a late-night cheeseburger from room service and ate it at the small desk, watching the silent, headlight-streaked highway below. Then I slept. A deep, dreamless, and profoundly peaceful sleep. The kind you only get when a terrible, gnawing uncertainty has been replaced by a clear, decisive action. I didn't wonder what she was doing. I didn't imagine her face when she saw the note. I was already gone. The clock on the nightstand read 2:17 a.m. when my eyes opened once, briefly. Some distant part of my brain, the part still wired to old patterns, noted the time. She's just getting home. A faint, almost imperceptible curl touched the edge of my mouth. Then I rolled over, buried my face in the stiff hotel pillow, and sank back into the silent, welcoming dark. The first vibration was a soft, persistent buzz against the hotel room's wooden nightstand. 2:41 a.m. A pale blue light pulsed from the screen of my silenced phone, casting ghostly shadows. "Qley." It danced, then went dark. 10 seconds later, it began again. And again. I watched it from the bed, propped on one elbow. I didn't reach for it. Each buzz was a pebble dropped into the deep, still well of my calm, creating only the faintest, most distant ripple before disappearing. I counted. 7 calls in 12 minutes. Then, a pause. The texts began. The notifications stacked silently. 2:53 a.m. "Baby, what is this? This isn't funny." 2:55 a.m. "Where are you? Call me." 2:58 a.m. "Okay, you're overreacting. It was one night." 3:07 a.m. "Are you seriously doing this? Over a misunderstanding? I'm freaking out." 3:15 a.m. "Please. The closet is empty. Your things are gone. What did you do?" 3:22 a.m. "This is cruel. Just talk to me." The language was fascinating. Overreacting. Misunderstanding. Cruel. The blame was already being drafted, the narrative of her victimhood taking shape. There was no "I'm sorry," no "what I said was terrible." Just a demand that I correct my disproportionate response to her simple request. I got up, made a cup of terrible in-room coffee, and watched the dawn break over the highway. The phone eventually went still. The silence felt like a physical space I could inhabit. I knew the gossip mill would be churning. I had one person to check in with. Ben, my oldest friend, who had never quite hidden his dislike for Qley's drama. I sent a single text. Me, 8:17 a.m. left Qley last night. I'm fine. Laying low. You'll probably hear some versions. His reply was instant. Ben, holy shit. The group chat is already on fire. Sarah's been texting everyone. You need the rundown? Me, only if it's funny. Ben, it's a fucking tragedy. For her. And then he called. I put him on speaker, listening while I unpacked a box of books. Okay, Ben said, his voice a mix of concern and gleeful scandal. So, Sarah is in full damage control mode, which means she's blaming you to anyone who will listen. But the story is leaking out. According to my source, Maya, who was there but hates Sarah, here's what went down. He took a theatrical breath. Qley gets to the club. Mission accomplished. Mark is there. She does the whole accidental run-in. He's all over her. Buying drinks, laughing too loud, the whole routine. She's playing the part perfectly, single, carefree, a prize back on the market. I lined my books on the hotel desk, not saying a word. So, they're dancing, Ben continued. It's getting handsy. Sarah, being the world's worst wingwoman, decides this is the moment. She slurs into Mark's ear, probably to make Qley look more desirable. Aren't you worried her boyfriend will be pissed? I could see it. The music thumping, the colored lights, Mark's smug smile freezing on his face. Mark pulls back, Ben said, and I could hear the grin in his voice. He looks at Qley, and he says, Maya swears this is verbatim. You have a boyfriend? Here. And Qley, flustered, tries to do its complicated thing. But Mark just laughs. This cold, nasty little laugh. He says, that's messy. I don't do messy. And then, and this is the beautiful part, he literally turns around, spots another girl at the bar, and walks away. Left her standing alone in the middle of the dance floor. The karma was so precise it felt poetic. She had wanted to present as single to lure him in. The moment she was revealed as not single, as attached, as complicated, she became worthless to him. He didn't want her. He wanted the easy, ego-boosting conquest of a single woman. The very pretense she'd asked me to enable was the thing that made her disposable to him. She lost it, apparently, Ben finished. Cried, made a scene. Sarah had to drag her out. The whole friend group saw it. Now the story isn't Qley's boyfriend abandoned her. It's Qley tried to make Mark jealous and got dumped twice in one night. People are calling her the double dump in the group chat. Huh, I said, my voice flat. That's all you've got? Huh, Ben asked, incredulous. It's the logical outcome, I said. She wanted a game. She found a player. He changed the rules. There was a pause. Who are you and what have you done with my emotionally messy friend? Ben said, but he sounded relieved. I'm the guy not in the group chat, I said. Thanks for the intel. I spent the next few days in a bubble of quiet productivity. I found a short-term apartment rental online, a furnished studio with a view of the city skyline, and signed the lease. I moved my things in. The silence there was my own. It wasn't the silence of absence, but of presence, my own. The calls from Qley became less frequent, but more structured. They came in waves, the pleading wave, the angry wave, the negotiating wave. I never blocked the number. Watching them come in and choosing not to answer was its own form of closure. They were reminders of a fire I'd walked out of, hearing the screams of someone who'd chosen to stay inside. The texts evolved. Day 2, 11:04 a.m. I can't eat. I can't sleep. This is killing me. Please. Day 3, 9:15 p.m. Fine. You want space? Have it. You'll realize what you threw away. Day 4, 4:30 p.m. We need to talk about the apartment. The lease. Our stuff. You can't just run from your responsibilities. That last one was a tactical shift. An attempt to lure me with logistics. I had already contacted the landlord, a decent man who'd seen it all. I'd explained I'd vacated and would be forfeiting my portion of the security deposit. I provided my new address for any formal correspondence. The our stuff was already legally irrelevant. I'd taken only what was mine. Then, the proxies began. Her sister, Mia, called on the afternoon of the 5th day. I answered, knowing it wasn't Qley. Hey, Mia's voice was sharp, devoid of preamble. It's Mia. Look, What you did was really extreme. I said nothing. She made a tiny mistake, Mia barreled on, emboldened by my silence. A stupid, insecure girl mistake. And you just abandoned her? Packed up and left like a thief in the night. Do you have any idea what state she's in? She's a mess. A complete mess. Man up and talk to her. At least give her some closure. I let her words hang in the digital space between us. I could hear Qley's influence in every syllable. The minimization, tiny mistake. The infantilization, girl mistake. The blame shifting, man up. Mia, I said, my voice calm, almost conversational. There's nothing to discuss. She got exactly what she wanted. What is that supposed to? She sputtered. She wanted to be single. I interrupted, not unkindly, but with a finality that felt like a door closing. Now she is. The conversation is over. I ended the call. I didn't feel anger at Mia. She was a soldier in an army I demobilized from. Her words were bullets meant for a target that was no longer on the battlefield. That evening, the final text of this phase arrived. It was long, a paragraph of frantic, stream of consciousness pain. Day 5, 8:42 p.m. I see what you're doing. You're trying to punish me. Well, it's working. I'm being punished every second. Everyone knows. They're laughing at me. Mark won't even answer my texts. My own friends think I'm pathetic. Is that what you wanted? To destroy me? I loved you. I love you. And you just walked away like I was nothing. Was it all a lie? Were you just waiting for an excuse to leave? I read it once. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. You walked away like I was nothing. The projection was perfect. She had reduced me to nothing, a non-postable secret, a background character, and was now shattered that I had accepted the role and left the stage. I didn't respond. There was no answer to give that she would hear. Any response would be fuel. My silence was the only language left that we both understood. It was the sound of her facing the empty, echoing consequences of her own choices, completely and utterly alone. I put the phone down and walked to the window of my new apartment. The city lights were coming on, 1,000 points of independent brightness. I didn't see her reflection in the glass. I only saw the calm, wide-open space of the future, stretching out, quiet and mine. The text trickled to a stop. The calls ceased. For 3 weeks, there was only the quiet hum of my new life. I started going to a different gym in the mornings. I reconnected with a few old friends, the ones who had gently faded during the Qley era. I cooked meals for one and didn't have to consider if they were impressive or Instagram-worthy. The peace was not an absence of sound, but a presence of self. It was solid. I knew the encounter was inevitable. Our city wasn't that big, and I had kept my routines, just in different zip codes. I figured she'd try the old coffee shop, the one near her apartment, where we used to go every Saturday. I'd stopped going there. My new place had a perfectly good cafe 2 blocks away, with bitter espresso and baristas who didn't know my name. It was my spot now, but I'd underestimated her desperation, or perhaps her research skills. She found the new spot. It was a Tuesday morning, overcast. I was at a small table by the window, laptop open, working through a proposal for a freelance project that excited me in a way my old job never had. I was deep in flow, the world narrowed to the screen and the taste of coffee. The scent hit me first. That same sharp, expensive perfume from that night. It cut through the earthy aroma of roasted beans like a knife. I didn't look up. I kept typing, finishing a sentence. Ryan. Her voice was a strained whisper, scratchy from crying or lack of sleep. I finished my sentence, saved the document, and slowly closed the laptop lid. Then I looked up. Qley looked diminished. The meticulous, polished aura was gone. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun, strands escaping. She wore leggings and an oversized sweatshirt that might have been mine once. Her eyes were hollow, with dark smudges beneath them. She was holding a disposable coffee cup like it was a lifeline. "Can I sit?" she asked, her voice trembling. I gestured to the empty chair opposite me. A public courtesy. She slid into it, her movements fragile. "Please," she began, the word bursting out of her. "We need to talk. I made a stupid mistake. The stupidest mistake of my life." Mark meant nothing. He was a ghost, an idea. I was an idiot. I was insecure. I listened, my hands resting on the closed laptop. I said nothing. My silence seemed to pull the words from her faster. "I've been losing my mind," she said, her eyes welling up. "The apartment is so empty. It echoes. Everyone is talking about me. Our friends, they don't look at me the same. Sarah won't even return my calls. I need you. I love you. I never stopped loving you. It was a moment of insanity, and you just left. She was crying openly now, quiet tears tracing paths through makeup she hadn't bothered to apply well. She reached a hand across the table, stopping short of touching mine. We had a life. We had plans. You can't throw it all away because of one awful thing I said. People fight. They hurt each other, and they fix it. I finally moved, leaning back in my chair, breaking the intensity of her gaze. I looked out the window at the gray street, then back at her. My calm felt like a pane of glass between us. Are you just going to sit there? She whispered, a hint of the old frustration bleeding through the tears. After everything we had, you're really this cruel? I said I was sorry. What more do you want me to do? Grovel? I'm groveling. Her voice had risen slightly. A woman at the next table glanced over, then quickly looked away. This was the shift. The plea was curdling into demand. The victim needed her fix of resolution, and my refusal to supply it was becoming a new offense. I spoke then, my voice low, even, and clear. It carried no heat. It was simply information. Qley, I said, that night, you gave me a direct instruction. You asked me to be invisible so you could present yourself as single to another man, to make yourself available to him. I heard you. I understood you. So I honored your request. She opened her mouth to interrupt, but I continued, the steady tone leaving no room. I honored it permanently. The person you're looking for, the boyfriend who lived in that apartment, who waited up for you, who was supposed to hide in the shadows of your social media for your convenience. He doesn't exist anymore. You dissolved him. All I did was walk away from the empty space where he used to be. That's not. She stammered, her face pale. I didn't want you to leave. You just wanted a specific outcome. I finished for her. You wanted your stable relationship and the thrill of the chase. You wanted my loyalty and his attention. You wanted to have both, and for me to be complicit in the fiction. You asked for the impossible, so you got the inevitable. She stared at me, her tears drying into shocked, salty tracks. The script was broken. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't crying. I wasn't accusing. I was explaining, like a teacher reviewing a failed experiment. It doesn't matter what you meant, Qley. It only ever matters what you do. And because of what you did, I have absolutely nothing to say to you. Nothing. The word was a choked gasp. For years. And you have nothing to say? Correct, I said, nodding slightly. The conversation is over. It was over the moment you left that apartment. Please don't contact me again. I've moved on. Moved on. A bitter, broken laugh escaped her. To what? To this. She gestured vaguely at the cafe, at my laptop, at my plain sweater. You're alone in some new neighborhood, doing freelance work. This is moving on. This is just running away and calling it progress. I didn't rise to it. I actually smiled, a small, faint thing that held no warmth for her. It was a smile for my own private realization. My piece isn't a performance for you to rate, Qley. You don't get to define my progress anymore. You're a spectator now. And frankly, you're not even that. I picked up my laptop and stood. I have a meeting. This is my cafe. Don't come here again. The finality of it, the utter banality of the reason I have a meeting, struck her dumb. She was braced for an epic clash, for hurled pain, for a dramatic final scene. She was met with a polite dismissal, as if she were a salesperson who'd called at a bad time. As I turned to go, she found one last surge of venom, the true colors breaking through the devastated facade. You're a coward, she hissed, her voice low and tight. You always were. You couldn't handle a real, complicated relationship. You just shut down and run. You'll die alone and safe, and it will be so boring. I paused, looking down at her. There was no anger in me, only a profound, almost pitying clarity. You confuse drama for depth, Qley, and you mistake safety for boredom. The life I'm building isn't for you to witness or approve of. It's simply mine. Goodbye. I didn't wait for a response. I walked to the counter, nodded to the barista, and pushed out onto the street. The overcast sky had broken, and a single, brilliant shaft of sunlight fell across the wet pavement. I turned left, towards the park, not towards my apartment. I needed the air. My phone, in my pocket, buzzed once. I didn't check it. It didn't matter. The hook was gone. The weight was gone. Her perfume was already dissipating from my senses, replaced by the clean, rain-washed scent of the city. I thought of the empty closet, the note on the counter, the hotel room darkness. I thought of the chipped blue mug in the trash. I thought of the quiet in my new apartment, the silence that belonged only to me. A line from a book I'd been reading floated into my mind. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. I finally understood. I didn't hate Qley. I didn't wish her ill. I was simply, comprehensively free. She was a chapter one had read, absorbed, and closed. The story was moving on, and for the first time in a long time, I was excited to turn the page and see what came next, all on my own. The sun felt warm on my face. I kept walking, and I didn't look back. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.